first. I am your teacher Shido.
I am Teacher Kelly.
I am Teacher Richard.
Hi, I am Teacher Carissa.
And our report for today is about Table of Specifications.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I am Carissa P. Bautista. And for today, I will report and share with you about the Table of Specifications or the TOS. So, what is Table of Specifications? Okay, Table of Specifications is a tool used to ensure that a test or assessment measures the content and thinking skills that the test intends to measure. It means that before we will make a test or exam or assessment, we should make first the TOS or the Table of Specifications so that we will know how many items that we should place in every learning competencies or objectives we have. Okay, so take note. Sometimes called a test blueprint. TOS or Table of Specifications is sometimes called a test blueprint. Why? Why test blueprint? It is because this is a table that helps teachers align objectives, instruction, and assessment. It falls out what will be tested and how it will be tested. So therefore, it is a requireable test makers. So, last, a table of specifications is developed before, take note, before the test is written. Okay, so bago tayo gumawa ng test or exam as a future educators, ay kailangan muna natin gumawa ng TOS or Table of Specifications. Bakit? Para alam natin kung ilang items ang ilalagay natin sa bawat learning competencies or objectives na meron tayo. Okay, so now let's talk about the purpose of Table of Specifications. So, what is the purpose of Table of Specifications? Sabi dito, to ensure proper organization of assessment procedures that best represent the material covered in the teaching and learning process. So, take note, in general, the Table of Specifications identify the achievement domains being measured. It ensures that fair and representative sample of questions appear on the test. And the last one is to improve the content validity of the test. Okay? Again, the Table of Specifications or the purpose of Table of Specification is to identify the first achievement domains that being measured, and second, it ensures that fair and representative sample of questions appear on the test, and last, to improve the content validity of the test. So let's proceed to the importance of Table of Specifications. Why Table of Specification is important? Sabi dito, it is a foundational tool in designing tests or measures for research and educational purposes. Second, it provides the teacher with evidence that a test has content validity. That is covers what should be covered. Okay, listen, future educators. TOS or Table of Specifications is very important in order to ensure that the test we will able to construct is valid and reliable. Valid in a sense that all of the topics and all of the test items which could be placed inside the task that discussed by us teachers. So as a future educator, mahalagang malaman o matutunan natin kung paano gumawa ng TOS or Table of Specification. Bakit? Dahil may mga times din na kapag tayo ay mag-a-apply sa kahit na anong school, private or public man yan, lalo na sa public, ha? Baka mamaya tatanungin tayo kung marunong tayo gumawa ng TOS. O kaya kapag nag-apply tayo ng trabaho sa private school, okay? Baka pagawan tayo ng TOS or Table of Specifications. Or tanungin tayo about TOS. Paano nalaman kung hindi natin alam gumawa nito? Eh di nga. Diba? Wala tayong maisasagot. So, ganun siya kahalaga. Kaya dapat matutunan natin ito as a teacher or as a future educators. Sa pag-prepare ng Table of Specifications o prepared of Table of Specifications, mahalaga ito. Dahil ito yung magiging guide natin para makagawa ng exam or test para sa mga estudyante natin. Next, Bloom's Taxonomy. Are you familiar with this? Okay, so these are the levels of thinking were identified by Bloom in the 1950s, and these levels were revised by a group of researchers in 2001, Anderson and Krathwohl. So take note. The objectives were categorized into easy, average, and difficult levels. The first, the easy category, are the low-level questioning consisting of what? Remembering and understanding. Okay, the average category generally consists of applying and analyzing. And the last, the difficult category or higher level of questioning consisting of evaluating and creating. Okay? A table of specification is a matrix or the rows consist of a specific topic or competencies, and the columns or the objectives has in terms of Bloom's taxonomy. Again, there are three categories: easy, average, and difficult levels. The easy are the remembering and understanding. The average are the applying and analyzing. And the last one, the difficult category or the higher level of questioning, and this is consisting of evaluating and creating. Okay, now we have different formats in doing a TOS or Table of Specifications. Take note, the TOS takes different forms depending on what teacher wants to show. Okay, so the different formats of Table of Specifications are one-way TOS, two-way TOS, and three-way TOS. So first, the one-way TOS. This is an example of one-way TOS. One-way TOS maps out the topics, test objectives, number of hours spent, format or placement of items, and number of percent of items. One-way TOS is easy to develop because it works around the objectives without considering the different levels of cognitive behaviors. Okay? So next, two-way toss. Two-way toss. This is an example of two-way toss. Take a look at the picture. Two-way toss. It reflects content, time spent, number of items, level of cognitive behavior targeted per test, content based on theory behind cognitive testing. Okay, last one. The three-way table of specifications or three-way toss. This is the most popular format of toss that reflects the features of one-way and two-way toss. One advantage of this format is it challenges the test writer to classify objectives based on the theory behind assessment. It also shows the variability of thinking skills targeted by the test. For example, take a look at the picture. Three-way table of specification in Science 5. The 5 is the grade level of students. The grade level of students will be a pattern for us as a teacher to think whether the objectives are complex, easy, or difficult to attain. The second, we have the topic or content of the lesson. It means that the topics being covered. Okay? The next one, the learning objectives or the learning competencies. Ito yung makukuha natin sa CG or curriculum guide ng subject na ito. Or pwede rin tayo mag-isip as a teacher. Katulad nito, recall concepts about different types of star. Recognize, interpret, distinguish, determine, formulate. Okay? Next, the time spent. Saan nakuha itong 444224? The time spent. Pwede minutes, hours, or days. It depends. Ilang oras ba, minuto, o araw ang ginugon mo para ituro yung bawat topic na yon sa iyong mga estudyante. Okay? Naintindihan? Okay. The next one is the number of percentage of items. How to compute this? How did I get the 10? Kung makikita nyo. So, ganito ang formula. The time spent times total number of test items divided by the total number of time spent. So, sa first row, the time spent is 4 times the total number of test items, 50. 50 yung gusto kong ipa-exam sa mga students ko. Kaya 50 ang total number of items. It depends. Pwedeng 30, 40, depende sa teacher. Okay? So, 4 times 50 is equals to 200. So, i-divide natin yung 200 sa total number of time spent. Ilan yung total number of time spent? Pag ipagpa-plus-plus natin to, 4 plus 4, 8. 8 plus 4 is equals to 12, plus 2, 14, plus 2, 16, plus 4 is equals to 20. So, 200 divided by 20 is equals to 10. Kaya nakuha yung 10 doon sa number and percentage of items na nakalagay. So, yung 20, paano yung 20%? Paano? Ganito ang format. Ang format ay number of items divided by the total number of items times 100. Okay, ito yung format. Paano nakuha yung 20% doon? The number of items, 10. Okay, divided by 50. yung total number of items na naman. Times 100 daw. 10 divided by 50 is equals to 0.2. 0.2 times, ita-times daw natin siya sa 100. So, 0.2 times 100 is equals to what? 20%. Tama ba? Compute mo nga. Okay. So, next, alam niyo na kung paano makuha ito. At ang next naman ay ang level of cognitive behavior. We have remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating. This is the Bloom's taxonomy of objectives. So, ito yung natatap na yung Bloom's taxonomy of objectives. If it is lower, higher order thinking skills, or lower order thinking skills. Depende sa learning objectives na nilagay mo. So next, the item format. The item format. As a teacher, mag-iisip tayo kung ano yung gusto nating klase ng ipapa-exam natin sa ating mga estudyante. Pwedeng multiple choice, pwedeng identification, fill in the blanks, essay, etc. Okay? And the last one is the placement of items. Ano ito? Ito yung kung saan natin ilalagay yung item na yon. Sa number 1 to 10 ba? 50, 45 to 50, 11 to 20. Nakadepende sa iyo as a teacher. Okay? And then last, syempre, kapag gagawa ka ng toss, need ng answer key. Okay? Don't forget the answer key kapag gagawa ka ng toss para sa mga students mo. Pero huwag mo ito isama sa exam ha. Pag mag-exam na sila. Keep mo. Okay? So that's all. Thank you.
Again, I am Francis Kelly Bidal, and let us talk about on preparing a table of specifications or TOS. But first, let's answer this question. What is TOS? Thank you. TOS is a plan prepared by a teacher as for the test construction that determines the topic to be covered and the number of items or points which will be associated in each topic distributed in the different domains of learning. And now we will proceed on discussing the different steps in preparing a table of specifications. And take note, there are 5 steps in preparing a table of specifications. The number 1 is, or the first step is, determine the coverage of your exam. The first rule in making an exam or creating a document called TOS is to make sure that the coverage of your exam is something that you have satisfactorily taught in class. Part of this is select the topic that you wish to test in your exam. I know it is impossible to include all the topics in creating a test. I am saying that you need to select the most important topic only. And the second step is determine your testing objectives for each topic. In this step, you need to familiarize in the revised Bloom's taxonomy of thinking skills from lower order thinking skills up to higher order thinking skills. And I have a question here. What are the 6 categories in revised Bloom's taxonomy? Anyone? Thank you. The 6 categories of revised Bloom's taxonomy from lower order thinking skills up to higher order thinking skills are remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. For each content area, you have to determine how you will test each area. Will you be simply test their recall of knowledge, or will you challenge them to contrast and compare something? The third step is to determine the duration for each content area. In this step, you need to write down how long you spent on teaching a particular topic. This is one of the most important because it will determine how many points you should be devoted in the particular topic. Logically, the longer you spend on teaching a material, then the more question you should be devoted in that topic. The fourth step is to determine the test types for each objectives. Now that you have created your task for your test by aligning to the revised Bloom's taxonomy, it's time for you to identify or determine the test types that will accomplish your testing objectives. Like for an example, in the knowledge question, you can easily accomplish it through multiple choice or matching type of an exam. And the important here thing is that your test type should reflect on your testing objectives. And the last step is polish your term of specification. After you initially drop your task, it's time to polish it and make sure that you have covered your term of specifications. The topic that you wish to test, the number of items for your test should be submission for your time allotted for your test. And now, I will show you an example of a three-way table of specification. You can find there in the first column is the content, and the second column is the learning objectives, and the third column is the time spent, and the fourth column is the number and percentage of the items, and the fifth column is the level of cognitive behavior, and the sixth column is the item format, and the last column is the placement of the items. And now, I will teach you how to solve for the number of items per objectives. By using the formula, number of items is equal to number of class session times desired total number of items divided by total number of class session. And I have given an example here. Number of class is equal to 2. Desired total number of items is equal to 50. And the total number of class session is equal to 20. So, let's use the formula. Number of items is equal to 2 times 50 divided by 20. So, 2 times 50 is equal to 100 divided by 20. So, 100 divided by 20 is equal to 5. So, the number of items should be 5 items. And now, let's solve for the percentage of the items. By using the formula, percentage is equal to number of days divided by total number of days times 100. In the given, the number of days are 2 and the total number of days is equal to 20. So, 2 divided by 20 is equal to 0.1. And 0.1 times 100 is equal to 10%.
Hello guys, again I am Richard Kiliza and I will be discussing the construct the test items, general guidelines for constructing test items, and determining the number of test items. But before I start my discussion, can you answer this question? What are the 6 stages of Bloom's taxonomy? So let's start guys. First, construct the test items. When we construct test items, we should build or put the different parts to form something whole. We should put the different parts of test to form irrelevant and meaningful tests. When we say construct, we will create test items. In constructing test items, we should apply these 2 guidelines. Number 1, the item should test the learning competency. That's the important in constructing test items. Your item should test the learning competency of the students, their critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, and so on. These first guidelines in constructing test items falls under the question of what are the objectives or desired learning outcomes of the test. The answer for that question is that deciding on what test items to use generally depends on your learning objectives or the desired learning outcomes. For able, the teacher and the student know they expected to do or demonstrate as a result of engaging in the learning process by your test created. Again, in constructing learning objectives, we should apply the principle of SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Next, the second guidelines in constructing the test items, it must be based on the taxonomy of objectives. Again, it must be based on the taxonomy of objectives. Kaya ko kayo pinasagutan ng 6 stages of Bloom's taxonomy kasi connected siya dito sa second guidelines in constructing the test items. The cognitive level of the test questions should match with your learning objectives or desired learning outcomes to test the learning competency of your students. It is important when constructing classroom assessment tools, all levels of cognitive behaviors are presented from remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Okay? Before we proceed to the next discussion, can you answer this question? What are the 2 guidelines in constructing the test item? Okay, let's proceed to the next. General guidelines for constructing test items. These guidelines help us to create or construct test items and teach us what is the best way in constructing test items. Number 1. Begin writing items far enough or in advance so that you will have time to revise them. When we construct test items, we should write items far enough to the upcoming test of the student. For able, the teacher can change or revise the test question or the test items. They can change the test formats as well as the difficulty of the test. Number 2, match item to intended outcomes at appropriate level of difficulty to provide valid measure of instructional objectives. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. The test items should connect to the learning outcomes and learning objectives to test the learning competency of the student and also taking into consideration the appropriate level of difficulty of the test. Kung sobra bang mahirap yung test o hindi. Number 3, be sure each items deals with an important aspect of the content area, not with trivia. It is important in making test items that each item should align to the content of what you've teach to your students. It's a big no-no na magsama tayo ng mga trivia o mga hindi related sa mga itinuro mo. Dapat connected siya lagi sa content area. Number 4, be sure the problem posed is clear. When we constructing test items, all of the item questions or problem should clear. Make it sure that your student can easily understand your question or problem para masagutan ito ng inyong mga estudyante. Number 5, be sure that the item is independent with all the other items. Make sure that your test item is not the same to the other items. We should avoid the repetition of the items to maximize the appropriate numberings of the test. Number 6. Be sure the item has one or best answer. This is very simple to understand, and most of us knows about this. In constructing test items, make sure that it has one and only answer. Again, make it sure that it has one and only answer or best answer. Number 7. Prevent unintended clues to an answer in the statement or question. When we construct test items, we should prevent unintended clues or hint to an answer in the statement or question. Teachers tend to create unintentional clues for students about appropriate responses. Therefore, allowing for students to answer the question correctly without attaining the knowledge. So, we should prevent unintended clues to the test. Number 8. Avoid replication of the textbook in writing test items. Do not quote directly from the textual materials. It is a big no-no in constructing test items na i-copy and paste mo lang ang mga nasa textbook. Pwede namang kahit i-revise mo na lang siya o mas mabuti na gumawa ka na lang ng iyong question and of course, related pa rin siya sa content ng mga itinuro mo. For able, your test will be valid and meaningful kasi ikaw mismo ang gumawa. Number 9. Avoid trick questions in a test. In constructing test items, we should avoid trick questions because it is very difficult to answer. For example, there is a hidden difficulty or because the answer that seems obvious is not the correct one. Lastly, number 10. Try to write items that require HOTS or higher order thinking skills. We should construct test items with higher order thinking skills. As we all know, higher order thinking skills is a concept of education reform based on learning taxonomies, such as Bloom's taxonomies. Higher order thinking skills involves the learning of complex skills, such as critical thinking skills and problem solving. Okay, that's the general guidelines in constructing test items. But before we proceed to my last discussion, we will proceed first to the sharing time. Gusto kong malaman kung ano ang mga natutunan ninyo sa general guidelines in constructing test items. Okay, we will now proceed to my last topic, which is determining the number of test items. Guys, sobrang dali lang ng mag-determine ng number of test items. We will using these two formula. Before we determine the number of test items, we will determine the percentage allocation first. Guys, please take down notes these two formula. For percentage allocation, total number of days divided by hours spent. For number of test items, total number of items multiplied by percentage allocation. Determining the percentage allocation of items for each of the topic. Again, the formula for percentage allocation is total number of days divided by hours spent. Example, Mrs. Reyes utilized 10 hours for teaching the unit on photosynthesis. She spent 2 days in teaching the topic, chemical process. What percentage of test items should she allocate for the topic? Okay, we will now use the formula for percentage allocation. Total number of days is 2 days, correct? Divided by hours spent, and that is 10 hours. So, 2 divided by 10 is equals to 0.20, and that is equivalent to 20%. Therefore, the percentage of the test items is 20%. Pagkatapos nating makuha ang percentage allocation, we will now determine the number of the items. This can be done by multiplying the percentage allocation by the total number of items to be constructed. Example, Mrs. Reyes decided to prepare a 50-item test on the unit of photosynthesis. How many items should she write for chemical process? Okay, the total number of items is 50 items, correct? Multiply by the percentage allocation, and that is 0.20. 50 times 0.20 is equal to 10. Therefore, Mrs. Reyes should write 10 items for chemical process. Diba guys, sobrang dali? Panigurado ako naintindihan nyo ito. Kaya meron akong inihandang activity para sa inyo. You will answer this activity by typing your answer. I will give you 1 minute for this activity. Pagkatapos, magtatawag ako kung sino ang sasagot.
Thank you, Sir Richard. Now, let's tackle the checklist for constructing test items. Number 1, the item is appropriate to measure a learning objectives. Number 2, the item format is the most effective. Number 3, the item is clearly worded and can be easily understood by the target student population. Number 4, the items of the same format are grouped together. Number 5, there are various item types included in the assessment. 6, the students have enough time to answer all test items. Number 7, the test instructions are specific and clear. Number 8, the number of questions targeting each objective matches the weight of importance of the objective. And number 9, the scoring guidelines are discussed clearly and available to students. Para mas maintindihan pa natin ang talakayan ngayon, iisa-isahin natin i-discuss ang checklist na ito. Pero para mas masaya, tayo ay magkakaroon ng isang aktibidad. Kung napapansin nyo, sa dalawang column ay may nakasulat na yes and no. At magtatawag ako ng mga voluntaryo sa ating klase ngayon at tatanungin kung bakit yes o kaya no ang kanyang sagot sa unang checklist. Kung gayon, tayo ay mag-umpisa na. Checklist number 1. The item is appropriate to measure a learning objectives. Yes or no? Pwede ka bang magbahagi ng iyong idea? Dana? Thank you, Dana. Ngayon, pumunta naman tayo sa checklist number 2. The item format is the most effective means of measuring the desired knowledge. Yes or no? Teresa? Maraming salamat. Ngayon ay pumunta na tayo sa checklist number 3. The item is clearly worded and can be easily understood by the target student population. Yes or no? Can you please share your idea kung bakit yes or no ang iyong isasagot? Yes! Rian! Maraming salamat. Ngayon ay dumako na tayo sa ika-4 na checklist. The items of the same format are grouped together. Yes or no? Can you please please share your ideas? Trisha? Thank you, Trisha. Ngayon naman ay dumako na tayo sa checklist number 5. There are various item types included in the assessment. Jessica, pwede bang ikaw ay magsabi ng idea mo patungkol rito? Maraming salamat. Now, let's proceed to the number 6. The students have enough time to answer all test items. Yes or no? Yes, Donna! Maraming salamat. Ngayon ay dumako na tayo sa checklist number 7. The test instructions are specific and clear. Pwede ka bang maglahad ng iyong idea? Yes. Sherry. Thank you. For the checklist number 8, the number of questions targeting each objective matches the weight of importance of that objective. Yes or no? Ma'am Cream? Thank you. Let's proceed to the checklist number 9. The scoring guidelines are discussed clearly and available to the students. Yes or no? Pwede ka bang magbahagi ng iyong idea? Hazel? Thank you everyone sa inyong aktibong pakikibahagi sa ating aktibidad na yes or no. So, do we understand now the topic checklist for constructing test items? Very good. Now, let's proceed to the next topic, assemble the test items. After constructing the test items following the different principle of constructing test items, the next step to consider is to assemble the test items. In assembling the test, consider the following guidelines. Letter A, group all items with similar format, meaning all items in similar format must be grouped so that the students will not confuse. Letter B, arrange test items from easy to difficult, meaning the test item must be arranged from easy to difficult so that students will answer the first few items correctly and build confidence at the start of the test. Clear? Letter C, space the test items for easier reading. For example, kapag gagawa tayo ng test items, kailangan yung hindi dikit-dikit na mga text sa kopol upang ang test items na ating ginawa ay malinaw at madaling mabasa ng ating mga estudyante. Letter D, keep items option in the same page. Letter E, place illustrations near the description. Letter F, check the answer key. And letter G, decide where to record the answer. And now, let's proceed to the things to consider in assemble test items. Letter A, we should consider writing directions. Check the test direction for each item format to be sure that it is clear for the students to understand. The test direction should contain the numbers of items to which they apply how to record their answers, the basis of which they select answer, and the criteria for scoring or the scoring system. Letter B, check the assembled test items, meaning before reproducing the test item, it is important to proofread first the test items for typographical and grammatical errors and make necessary corrections, if any. If possible, let others examine the test to validate its content. This can save time during examination and avoid distraction of the concentration of the students. Letter C, make the answer key. Be sure to check your answer key so that the correct answer follow a very random sequence. Avoid answer such as T, F, T, F, T, F, or T, 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 F, F, F for a true or false type, and avoid answer also in multiple choice like A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. Question: why should we avoid this type of answer? Yes. Analyzing and improving the test items should be done after checking, scoring, and recording the test. There you have it, guys. That is our report for today. Thank you for listening.